Hello, everyone. Welcome back once again. I am Nicodemus Kane. Today is August the 30th of 2022. I am. I got soap in my eye. Taking a shower. I got soap in my eye, and my eye is burning. I've splashed water in it, and I put some put some eye drops in it. It's just regular old soothing relief. It's not like the stuff that'll burn your eye out. Um, I'm getting better, but it is. I am keeping one eye closed because I cannot. It hurts. It's still stinging. It still stings. Not as bad as it was, but it's doing better. Um. Anyway, today we're going to read Isaiah 38. We're going to get through this one, so that I don't have to be, I don't have to be sitting here trying to read too much with my eye the way that it is. Um, and afterwards, we're going to talk about what we decided we're going to do with our vacation time coming up because my wife and I both took this Friday off. So we are having a 4-day weekend, including Labor Day on Monday. And we are going to take a trip. We're going to go somewhere. So I'm going to tell you guys all about that. But let's go ahead and read Isaiah 38 first. Let me pull up my Strong's Concordance as always. There we go. All right, I'm actually pulling it up closer to me so that I can read it now that I've only got one eye going. It's tearing up, which means that it's getting the stuff out, which is good. I just you hit that point, it's just like somebody stabbing you right through the face. God, it hurts so much, but it's getting better. It's getting better. I have an eye appointment coming up, so they'll be able to tell me if I really screwed my eye up or not. Hopefully not. All right. So, before we get into this, we have to remember that this, what was his name? Rabshakeh came up to Jerusalem and was telling them all, the king of Assyria is coming to wipe you all out. If you guys. He basically came up to them and said, if you guys make an agreement, we'll take you and we'll make an agreement with us and present us with a present. We'll move you all to a place that's very similar to this, where you can live. But we're going to take this city whether you like it or not. Of course, that went back to Hezekiah, the king, and he prayed to God, and God said, it's not going to happen right now. That I am going to go back and I am going to take care of the king of Assyria. And that was pretty much the end of that. But at the end of that, we talked about a couple different things. This Nisroch, his god. And then we went into this whole thing about this eagle god. And then we talked about the Amaru. And then we talked about the Mexican flag, about the eagle fighting the snake. Which we will get into a little bit more after all this. But that was pretty much where we stopped last time. So, chapter 38. In those days was Hezekiah sick unto death, and Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amoz, came unto him, and said unto him, Thus saith the Lord, Set thine house in order, for thou shalt die, and not live. Which is what we should all be doing. Get your house ready. Get your house in order. Be ready when Christ comes back. Then Hezekiah turned his face toward the wall, and prayed unto the Lord, and said, Remember now, O Lord, I beseech thee, how I have walked before thee in truth, and with a perfect heart, and have done that which is good in thy sight. And Hezekiah wept sore. All right, there's a break. We don't really need to go back through all that. That pretty much explains itself. Hezekiah is sick. He's about ready to die. Now he's praying to God. So, verse 4, then came the word of the Lord to Isaiah, saying, Go and say to Hezekiah, Thus saith the Lord, the God of David thy father, I have heard thy prayer, I have seen thy tears. Behold, I will add unto thy days 15 years, and I will deliver thee and this city out of the hand of the king of Assyria, and I will defend this city, which is pretty much what he said in the last chapter. And this shall be a sign unto thee from the Lord, that the Lord will do this thing that he hath spoken. Behold, I will bring again the shadow of the degrees, which is gone down in the sundial of Ahaz, 10 degrees backwards. So the sun returned 10 degrees, by which degrees it was gone down. Now I have talked about this in a couple different places. When you talk about the ancient calendars, these ancient cultures followed a 364-day calendar, 13 months of 28 days each. That's the moon cycle. From new moon to new moon, it's 28 days. And that has not stopped since the world was created. And it's 13 perfect days. There are 13 constellations, yes, not 12, 13, that move inside, you can call it the zodiac, whatever, but we're going to say it's astronomy, not astrology, that move inside of this calendar. And that the moon moves through this constantly. The only thing that's changed is the daytime. The sun has changed. It has gone from 364 days to 365 and 1/4 days per year. At least that's what the scientists say. And I guess that's the way it's working. I don't know. But it's gotten to the point to where every leap year we have to add a day in order to reset the cycle. Because if we didn't have that extra day in, then the seasons would start going out of whack, and the months would start going out of whack. Everything would start kind of turning. So I've said two things. First thing I said is the extra day and a half, is it even a legit thing? I mean, does the world continue moving on if we didn't have the extra day and a quarter? I don't know. We've had so many lies at this point. Who knows what the calendar is anymore? Second thing I said, though, is that, so where did the extra day and a half come from? Because these people move on a moon cycle. And the moon cycle just keeps right on going. It's never stopped. It's never stopped doing its thing. It's just there's an extra day and a quarter added to it. So does that mean that in these old calendars, the seasons moved with it? Does that mean that the calendars were out of whack? It's something weird to it. And I have said, it's such a perfect calendar. God made such a perfect calendar. How in the world did it get to be a day and a half off? Well, I kind of figured it out, and some other people have talked about it too. This is just a theory. It's just a theory. There is, I cannot remember where it was. It was it was one of the first books, like either Chronicles or Kings. Not Chronicles. What am I thinking? Well, maybe it was Chronicles. I don't know. It was one of the two that somebody asked for the sun to be stopped in the sky so that they could continue to fight. They could continue to fight in war. I even have it right here. Then Joshua spoke to the Lord. This is Joshua 10:2, or 10:12, sorry. Then Joshua spoke to the Lord on the day when the Lord delivered the Amorites before the children of Israel. Man, I am all over the place. Again, I'm having a problem with my eye. So let's actually look it up in the book so that I don't have to read it off the computer and feel like Joshua 10:12. Thank you, Father, for letting me go right to it. Then spake Joshua to the Lord in the day when the Lord delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel. And he said in the sight of Israel, Sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Ajalon. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed, so both of them stopped, until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is it not written in the book of Jasher? Well, interesting. So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hasted not to go down about a whole day. The sun was forced off of its time for a whole day. Now it says the moon stood still too. Which would have thrown the moon calendar off as well. But there's your extra day. The sun stood still perfectly for one whole day, screwing up the calendar. And that's your 365 days. But then, of course, there's an extra quarter of a day. Where'd that extra quarter come from? Well, God said, Behold, I will bring again the shadow of the degrees, which has gone down in the sundial of Ahaz, 10 degrees backwards. So the sun returned 10 degrees, by which degrees it was gone down. I don't know. I've said, not knowing, if 10 degrees is actually a quarter of a day. It may be. It may very well be. Who knows? But there is evidence inside of the Bible that tells us that the sun has been pulled backwards. The clock has been changed. That things aren't the way that they should be anymore. Like there was this definite perfect timepiece that was made, and then the sun was held in place for a whole day. The clock was stopped for a whole day, and then it started back up. And and everything was off. The days, the seasons, everything was off for a day. And then it happened again, right here. It was pulled backwards. This time it wasn't stopped. It was actually pulled backwards 10 degrees so that it could, give Hezekiah a little bit more time. So think about that for a second. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm just saying that we have a place that we can point to in the Bible and say, this is why everything is so weird the way that it is. Because 365 and a quarter just seems weird, I don't know. And that was Joshua. Is that before or after? I mean, this is right. Yeah, this is right after the Israelites got to the Promised Land. So this is after they left Egypt. So it would have given them. It would have given the Egyptians, what it was left of the Egyptians, time to change their calendars. The only thing about it is that the only thing that kind of takes away from it is when you talk about the Great Pyramid. The base of the Great Pyramid is 365 something. Let me see here. Because everything that they have made in the past lines up to a 365-day calendar. Now, was everything before that, was that there? Or was it taken away? Was it changed? I was reading, or I was listening to a video the other day where they were talking about this Cahokia, which is a huge Native American city out by St. Louis. And they said that there were poles in the ground. What do they call it? A wood hinge. I think it's what they called it. Where they could track constellations. They could track where the sun comes up each day. And, they could track seasons through it. But they were saying that there had been maybe at least 12 of these that had been raised up and torn down. And they didn't really understand why they tore them down. Because if you have one set, you don't need to worry about tearing it down again. Unless you're trial by error and you're trying to find exactly where it is, because the stars, the moon, and the sun have stayed where they've been forever and a day. They've never changed. So why would they tear them down just to put them back up in slightly different places? And it's not because we're moving around in the universe. Again, everything has stayed pretty much exactly where it is. It's not moved. So why were they tearing it down and building it back up? Could it have been because there was a change in the patterns? I don't know. It's just something to contemplate, something to think about. And again, I'm not saying that it's how it works. I'm not saying that it's, God-given truth. I'm just saying that there is something to it. And it's taken me a while to come back and find out exactly where it was in the Bible, that other quarter of a day. And here it is right here, Isaiah 38. It's taken me this long to get back to it. So I don't know. I don't know how it works. Again, I don't know how it works. I don't know what... Here we go, right here. So the base of the pyramid, for complete... blah, blah, blah. This is in the study of his book, that means that you're selling a book. Since the advent of atomic clocks back in the 1950s, which may or may not even be a real thing, it has become possible to determine the tropical year to a much higher degree of accuracy, and based on this, the tropical year as measured in 2000 was determined to be 365.242. That's 365 and a quarter solar days. Solar days. This paper outlines blah, 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 blah. So what does that have to do with the base of the pyramid? Independent of this calculation, Davidson suggested that the Great Pyramid's geometrical base circuits suggested. They didn't measure it completely. They suggested it according to calculations for the measure of a royal cubit, which has changed through the years because people say this is already... If you follow what they say, you can see how they manipulate things into fitting the way that they need to fit. Independently of his calculation, Davidson suggested that the Great Pyramid's geometrical base circuit was, by design, 36,524.2465 pyramid inches. What the hell is a pyramid inches? But then it also says, however, his calculations go on to suggest a measure for the royal cubit. So this whole thing could be dog crap. This is why you look stuff up. You can see it now. Back in the day, you would read that and you would say, "Oh, right, cool, man. You know, the base of the pyramid is 36,000, whatever," and it happens to line up perfectly with a tropical year of 36, blah 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 blah. They didn't realize that, you know, this suggested size of the pyramid happens to work perfectly with this atomic clock number that they only made up in the 1950s. Wow, man. That's heavy. That's heavy stuff. Do you see how it works? You see how ridiculous this stuff works now? I always had a problem with that because one of the first things I remember learning on this journey that started 5 years ago, Rob Skiba was talking about the Great Pyramids, and he talked about that, the base being 365 and whatever. The fact that the Bible says that Enoch walked for 365 years and then he was taken. It happens to line up. Well, the pyramid doesn't have to line up. We just read that. It's a suggested number based off of an atomic clock number that man has made. We already know that man has changed the calendar. Why in the hell should we even care about their atomic clocks? Which he also said this is going by a, what did it say? This is also going by, the calculations go on to suggest a measure for the royal cubit, which is smaller than the value determined by Isaac Newton and some other guy that I've never heard of before. Which is not true. People were bigger back in the day, not smaller. So this right here doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. Enoch was 365 years whenever he was taken, because eventually the Father knew that the calendar would be 365 and a quarter days long, because he knew that eventually he was going to have to hold the sun back. God knows the beginning from the end. He knows how all this is going to play out. So that's why. Not because Enoch built the pyramid. I'm not going to say that Enoch did or didn't build the pyramid. I know the pyramid's not a tomb. It's an energy conductor. It works exactly like a Tesla tower. You know, you've got flowing water on the bottom and all the little things that go through it, all the, what do you want to call them, the shafts that go through it with the room at the top. It's an energy conductor. It works exactly like a Tesla tower. It just has to be on flowing water, and sure enough, there's rivers that flow underneath the pyramid. I bet you all three of them were. Well, I bet you the one was, and then they built the other two later. But I don't, now that I've read that, it doesn't have to be 360 or 36,500 whatever inches. That is probably just some arbitrary number that they put on there. Somebody suggested in order to say, oh, look, they were so much smarter than we were, you know? These were just savages. They couldn't even have full clothes. They walked around in nothing but loincloths, and, you know, it's only the elites would do this, and they spent 500 years building this gigantic pyramid so that they could bury a guy that wasn't even going to be alive by the time it was built. Think about that one for a second. I actually posted this yesterday to Twitter and Facebook. I said, do you hear the nonsense that they tell us now? Talking about one of these mounds out in, you know, the one out by St. Louis, Cahokia. They said that this mound was built using 50-pound bags being carried up and down this mound so that they could build this thing. They said that any one person would have to walk up and down this mound 51 million times over 300 years in order to build this thing. I said, you've got to be out of your mind. 300 years. you have to. It gets to that point again. We've talked about this. It gets to that point to where you hear them tell you these things, and you're like, "Hey, no one was able to hold on to anything for 300 years that long without something else happening." And there's definitely no way in the world that somebody's going to spend their entire life building something for somebody else that's not even going to be alive when it's finished. That is absurd. That is absurdity. But that's what they want you to believe. Is that the 50-pound bags 51 million times up and down this thing over a course of 300 years. Because they say that there was only, at the time that this thing was built, there was only maybe 2,000 to 5,000 people that were there. And then suddenly, magically, it's like a whole crap load of people showed up out of nowhere. And then, it got made. And the only people that were allowed to go up on the mound, now get this stuff, they said that once the thing was built, the only people that were allowed up on the mound were like the chieftain or the medicine man or whatever. Not the normal people were not allowed to go up on top of this thing. They built it, but they couldn't use it. That's absurd. Come on now. Seriously. It just boggles my mind. Boggles my mind how we believed it for so long and we couldn't see it. And now that we're awake with our eyes wide open, we can see the absurdity of the things they say. It's like the Great Pyramid. These guys supposedly hauled big, huge bricks of stone that are the size of a car. Some of them are the size of a house. Put them on ships. Put them on boats. It was boats, not ships. Put them on boats. Sailed them down the Nile from I think it was somewhere I heard it was like 50 miles down the river to a place where they hauled it, what was that, 10 miles inland? 5 miles inland. I don't remember how far off the river they are. They hauled it 5 miles inland in order to place it in a pyramid that took 500 years to build. Do you hear how absurd it is? And supposedly everybody was slaves. Everybody was slaves. This is, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people being made slaves by what? How many do you think they had in the army? I can get how it's possible. I can absolutely get how it's possible, but it just sounds absurd, man. When you really think about it now, it just sounds ridiculous. Something else was going on there. So anyways, now that I've gone way off track, the day and a quarter match stuff that happens in the Bible. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying that whenever it comes time to look at the old calendars and then look at the new calendars and figure out what's going on, there's a little bit of help. That's one of those, again, it's one of those things. It's like I said, when I went back in the past and I started looking, and it's like, well, these people, they had calendars only 364 days long. I think the Book of Enoch even says that. The calendar at the time was only 13 months of 28 days. 364. And somewhere along the line that changed. And a day and a half or a day and a quarter was added. And now we have to manipulate the calendar in order to keep it fit so that it doesn't go all wacky and crazy. The Mayans supposedly added an extra, what was it? They added 4 days every 10 years or something. And they had a big celebration for those 4 days. I think it's what it was. I don't remember exactly what it was. Other cultures did other things. But everybody before that, again, kind of had a 13-month calendar. And I've read that some scientists are still perplexed by how they could have made it work. They had to have added X amount of days in order to make it work, because supposedly the calendar has always been 365 and a quarter days ever since the world was, according to science, is that it evolved that way. Yeah, right. I think God made a perfect timepiece, but he held back the sun for one day, and then he pulled back the sun 10 degrees for a quarter of a day. I think that's how it works. That's just my opinion. Other opinions may vary. So anyways, so the sun returned 10 degrees, by which degrees it was gone down. So verse 9, the writing of Hezekiah, king of Judah, when he had been sick and was recovered of his sickness. So this is Hezekiah. I said in the cutting off of my days, I shall go to the gates of the grave. I am deprived of the residue of my years. I said, I shall not see the Lord, even the Lord, in the land of the living. I shall behold man no more with the inhabitants of the world. Mine age is departed, and is removed from me as a shepherd's tent. I have cut off, like a weaver, my life. He will cut me off with pining sickness. From day even to night wilt thou make an end of me. I reckon till morning that, as a lion, so will he break all my bones. From day even to night wilt thou make an end of me. Like a crane or a swallow, so did I chatter. I did mourn as a dove. Mine eyes fail with looking upward. O Lord, I am oppressed. Undertake for me. Sounds like a prayer that just about every man is getting on in his age would say. I'm getting up there, Father. Take care of me so that I don't break anymore. What shall I say? He hath both spoken unto me, and himself hath done it. I shall go softly all my years in the bitterness of my soul. O Lord, by these things men live, and in all these things is the life of my spirit. So wilt thou recover me, and make me to live. Behold, for peace I had great bitterness, but thou hast in love to my soul delivered it from the pit of corruption. For thou hast cast all my sins behind thy back. That's a good one. For the grave cannot praise thee. Death cannot celebrate thee. They that go down into the pit cannot hope for thy truth. Amen. The living, he shall praise thee, as I do this day. The Father to the children shall make known thy truth. The Lord was ready to save me. Therefore we will sing my songs to the stringed instruments all the days of our life in the house of the Lord. For Isaiah had said, let them take a lump of figs and lay it for a plaster upon the boil, and he shall recover. Hezekiah also had said, what is the sign that I shall go up to the house of the Lord? So he was basically saying, God, it's my time to die. I'm getting ready. Father, I have lived in the pit of corruption. I have lived in the worst places of my life. I have fallen. Father, you have picked me back up, shown me the way, as he does to all of us, as he did to me. Again, what am I doing here? I ask that every day. I'm like, how did I get to this point? This isn't me. This was never me. 6 years ago, I would have said, you're crazy if I'm going to be sitting there reading a Bible, recording it at 6 o'clock in the morning, working from home. I would have said, you're nuts. But here I am. Because for whatever reason, God has chosen to wake me up, chosen to bring me to this part in my life, chosen to put that truth in my mind, in my heart, and to try to wake others up as best I can. I don't know if it's working, but again, but he's saying that I will praise thee for the rest of my days, because you have given us something beautiful. You have given us your word, and you have followed through with that. And for that, I can only thank you and worship you and love you and sing your songs in the house of the Lord. Give you praise every day. So that's what that is. But then he also said, so when is it going to be? What is the sign? When is the sign? What is the sign that I shall go up to the house of the Lord? That was the very last thing that he would have said during all this. So it pretty much speaks for itself. I don't really have to go through too much of that. They that go down into the pit can only hope for thy truth. That is a good one. That is a good one right there. Because it says, for the grave cannot praise thee, death cannot celebrate thee. You want to praise him when you're alive. The living, he shall praise thee, as I do this day. The Father to the children shall make known thy truth. All right. So, anyways, let me take a drink of water because my throat's getting a little there. Hold on 1 second. I'm saying, man, I need like a little drinking music button or something. Just something that I can hit whenever I do that. Okay. So Cahokia. I keep thinking it's Chuckokia. It's Cahokia. Cahokia State Park, State Historic Sites. This Cahokia Mounds. So we have been trying to figure out a place to go. Something to do this weekend. Like I said, we wanted to have a day off. We've been talking about, like, what if we both just took a day off and just went somewhere and just did something? And my wife said, oh, that sounds great. When are we going to do it? We started talking about doing it in October, started talking about doing it. We were talking about doing it last month, but we had too much stuff come up last month. And we just need to get away. It's just, she and I have both been taking days off that don't line up with each other. Like, she gets a day off to, go take her granddaughter to, do a checkup or something like that. And I have to stay here. Or, she'll take a whole day off to go do something else. And I've taken days off where I just took a day off, where I just needed a break. But we both decided, hey, we got Labor Day coming up. What if we could get that Friday off? And somehow, miraculously, we both got the Friday off. It was pretty nice. So we've got the whole 4 days to do something. So what we are talking about doing is taking... Let me pull this up, too. Let me see if I can actually find something about this. I have talked about Egypt, Little Egypt, and Cairo, Illinois, and nice. all of these different places. Camel Rock. Oh, there's more stuff. I told her I'd be finding more stuff. I told her as I went on I'd be finding more stuff. But it's Southern Illinois. Let me go ahead and pull you guys in here so you can see what I see. Make sure that we're doing this. All I did was just look up Little Egypt, and I found this: the Budget Savvy Travelers. So we are talking about Southern Illinois, and we talk about the Mississippi River, and we talk about all the tributaries that go into the Mississippi River. We have talked about how the Nile River was, what was it? One river that spreads out into seven different rivers. Well, the Mississippi River is 7 rivers that go into one river and then empties out into the Gulf of Mexico. But we talk about the entirety of southern Illinois is basically a flat floodplain. See, the town of Cairo is on a peninsula. It's this little tiny place right here. It's the Dingleberry on the bottom of the Dingleberry on the bottom of Illinois. Illinois highway map. I was looking at highway maps. So let's see. Oh, we just look at maps. Jeez. White House Black Market. What? I've got all kinds of different places that I was looking up yesterday. So the entire place, it's flat. This whole place, it's like a floodplain because all of this, everything in here would flood throughout the years. That's what they're saying. And once you get down here towards the river, it starts getting rocky and hilly. You know, you get back into Kentucky, you start getting to the Kentucky hills and all that stuff. But everything down here, it's like from this line all the way down, it's Little Egypt. The whole place is Little Egypt. And you've got all of these different mound parks spread all throughout this place. And Cairo is right down here, this tiny little place right here, right on the peninsula. So we are taking a trip down to Little Egypt. We're talking about coming down through Evansville. There's a I don't have she has my sheet. Shoot. Angel Mounds Historic Park in Evansville. So we're talking about coming down through here. We live in central Indiana. Coming down through here, maybe following the roads down, there's another mounds place right in here that you can stop and look at. These are pyramid mounds. And then we're going to come down through Cairo, and then we're going to go back up through, there's a couple other places in here. Different things, and then we're going to land in Collinsville, which is right outside of St. Louis. So Collinsville has the Cahokia Mounds State Park, Museum, whatever you want to call it. Let me see. Oh, it's temporarily closed. Really? Oh, man. Hopefully it'll be open up by the time we get there. But the biggest one here, though, is this monster right here, Monk's Mound. This thing, the base of this, and you can see, I don't know how well you can see, but you can see that this thing is not perfectly square anymore. So as I've been going through this, we've been finding out that a lot of these mounds out here have been obliterated. They said they found 80 mounds out here. And there's probably many, many more, but they have destroyed them over the years. People just didn't care. They just would come in and just bulldoze right the hell over them. Actually, there's a place called Big Mounds Memorial that is right across the river in St. Louis that from here, this is where the mounds is. Straight across one of these bridges, and I think it's the McKinley Bridge, because they line up perfectly. But it's one right over here, and there's a memorial, supposedly down in here under the bridge, where it talks about, maybe it's not this one, maybe it's another one, but it talks about how there used to be a mound on the other side. But they just destroyed it. They didn't care. They just completely destroyed it. Now, of course, St. Louis is called the Twin Cities. Is that right? And it's interesting that there's two mounds. Whenever this thing still existed, the two mounds looked exactly like each other. Twin Cities. That's because it was twin mounds. But anyways, Cahokia, this place they were talking about, that said that at one point in time there could have been 50,000 people in this area alone, because it's right on the river. It's a good place. There's a little river outlet right here that, this whole area could have been part of this Cahokia. Now, Cahokia is not even the name of the place. Cahokia is just something that, when they say that the colonists moved in, the Spanish, I guess, when they moved in, the people that were there were the Cahokia Indians. But the Cahokia Indians said that they didn't build this place. This was here when they got here. So whoever made this, they were gone within, I think they said 150 to 200 years. They built all this stuff up and then they just disappeared like it was, nothing. So we don't know who built this thing. A lot of people have said Aztecs, because a lot of the pottery and a lot of the culture and a lot of the things that they have were, very Aztec-y, Mayan, South American. Which is extremely interesting whenever you really put it together. So this whole area, plus the other side of the river, this whole area was a city. The biggest prehistoric city is what they called it in North America. And not many people know about this. Not many people know about this at all. But we are taking that trip. Like I said, we're going to take the trip down. We're going to come down through, where are we at? Come down through Evansville. Go all the way around. There's like 3 or 4 different places down through here. Little different mound areas we're going to check out. And then we're going to come back up through some other stuff. There's another park right in here. I cannot remember which one it is. I don't know if it's on here or not. Giant City. That's another one we're going to try. But the Kincaid one's down here. Kincaid Mounds. So you got the Angel Mounds, you got the Kincaid Mounds, you got Cairo, you got Giant City. I was even looking at stuff for Memphis, but Memphis is way down. We're not going all the way down to Memphis. These are names of Egyptian cities, by the way. Memphis, Cairo. This is why it's Little Egypt. It's Little Egypt. There's probably more to it than just they named it Little Egypt because it looks like the Nile River. We've talked about this. There's probably something else going on here that it's more than just what it is. But we're going to come up through there, and then we're going to hopefully spend a day at this where's that? It's over here, Cahokia. We're hopefully going to spend a day at Cahokia. There's a good little... I wonder if we can pull that up. Can we look at this photo? Yeah, see, that's the mound. They supposedly built this. Again, 50-pound bags of clay and dirt over 51 million times over the course of 300 years. Yeah, right. As you see, there's another one there. It's from the top. From the top, you can actually see St. Louis. So this should be interesting. Now, if St. Louis wasn't here in the old days, you would be able to see the other mound right there. Because remember, there was a mound right there on the river. You'd be able to see the other mound. You'd be able to see the other city on the other side of the river. There's something to this. And of course, you got all this other kind of stuff. But we're going to take video. We're going to take all the video we can. We're going to take all of the, this is from the museum. This is what they think it used to look like. I don't think it used to look like this at all. It's probably way different than this. I have a feeling that this Monk's Mound thing used to be an actual pyramid. I have that feeling. An actual step pyramid, not something that, not something that somebody was living on. But you can see it's sagging. They said that it has been slowly sagging, and they actually have to come back in and prop it back up, fill it back up in order for it to not completely fall apart. It's got other things. They called this somebody said that this looked like a defensive wall. You can put any sticks in the ground and call it whatever the hell you want to. But this is what we're doing. This is what we so you got to climb all the way up. This is what we're gonna head out here and we're gonna check this out. This is looking down. I think they said this is the Rattlesnake Mound. One of the two. I don't know. Now, here's the interesting thing, though. That one of the mounds that's out here is called Mound 72. Now, we all love our numerology. And when you talk about 72, that's the 72 greater demons that fell from... No, I don't want to play this. Stop. I have heard several of these historic videos, and every single one of them go by the way that they interpreted it, and it's like, the way that they do it. I said March 1st, 2020. Well, it's after March. Yeah, this is also called the City of the Sun, by the way. But this Mound 72, let me see if I can actually find a map of this. This Mound 72, they went into it and they opened it up. And they found sacrifices. All kinds of sacrifices. Let's see if I can... I think it's 65, 64, 66 is the Rattlesnake Mound. Where is it at? 52, 70, 71. Oh, right here, 72, yeah. So maybe that's what you could see from there, 70, there's 66. But this is a sacrificial burial mound. Now, supposedly the guys that found this stuff, they numbered this a certain way based upon when they found it. But when you take the number and you take the reason that this mound is here, then there's a picture going on there. Something else happening. But they said that they found hundreds of bodies of women, of younger women, sacrificial women buried inside of this. There was they said that there was at least one elite member of the community in there. He got buried with a lot of stuff, but the rest of it was like a mass grave of sacrificial, virgins, I suppose. I have no idea. These were not good people. I'm not going to say that these were good people. These were not good people. But there is something to this place. It's just another part of our missing history. So we're going to go check this place out. This is what we're going to go do. For all the eagle-eyed people of the world, for all those that can see it, when you look at this image, you can tell that it's Orion. It is a man holding a bow and either pulling it back or doing something else. This is the constellation of Orion. Now, some of the maps I saw, you could actually see the mounds lined up for his belt. Not a lot of these historical videos, the real historical videos will say that, but there's at least 2 videos I saw that were like, when you look at the map, you can see it's Orion. You can tell it's right there. So these people knew what they were doing. These weren't savages. These weren't, And you look at the pictures in the museum, and it's all these kids running around with, there we go. It's all these kids running around without any clothes on, and everybody's like, this is how we live. We have a loincloth, and we haul dirt 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 300 years in order to make this big. It's not. No. Something else is going on here. We're going to go check this out, though. Interesting stuff, man. Cahokia is the name of this place. This is what we're going to go do, though. We're going to go check it out. And hopefully learn some stuff. We're going to... hopefully the museum will be open, because there's some interesting things that they said in the museum. People have also said that there were... there were remnants of giants. I don't remember exactly how it worked, but they said that there were bones that they found out here, not in Cahokia, but around Cahokia, that disappeared. They found a giant skeleton and it disappeared the next day. There are tales that have come out of here that there were giants around these areas, not from the people. They didn't have sophisticated writing. As far as we know, the people that found it might have found out that these people knew a lot more than they knew, and they hid every single bit of it. Who knows? But they have remnants of giants. They have tales of giants around this area. They have tools inside of the museum. Somebody did a video where he went inside the museum and talked about these tools, these cutting axes. Apparently these cutting axes, you had to use a normal sized human being would have had to have used 2 hands for these monsters. And they were big. They were like the size of a kitchen trash can big. There's no reason for anybody to use a tool this huge. And they usually the tool that they said it was just a hand axe, which meant that you just held it in one hand on the back and then you cut stuff. But for whatever reason, these axes were big enough for 2 hands. And they were heavy. They were 20 pounds a piece. Why would you be using something like that? It doesn't make any sense. But for a giant hand, it'd fit right in there perfect. It's that kind of stuff we're going to go check out. And we're going to check out all the mounds that we can, and we're going to see what else we can find. It's Labor Day. There's got to be something else going on out there. But we're going to go and do this. Have some fun. It's going to be interesting. Interpretive Center closed for renovations. But the grounds are open daily from dawn until dusk. Okay. There's guided tours. I don't know if I want a guided tour. The Interpretive Center, of course, is what they thought it could be, and you know how it is. Trail map. Huh. Yeah, there's a whole trail that runs through this. That Giant City one that I was talking about has a trail that you can actually walk through. It's giant stone walls, big, huge boulders, monster boulders, but it's a big stone wall, and you can walk around, and I guess you get to walk through. I don't know. They called it Giant's Hallway, Giant's something or other, and it's cut in the stone, and it's something like 30, 40 feet deep or something. There's no reason for any man to ever dig something that deep. But for a giant, it'd be perfect. So I don't know, Is there local camping? Is there local camping or not? I guess not. I guess not. Because we're either going to get a hotel or we're going to have to camp out. I don't know. It's going to be one or the other. We were talking about hotel first, but it's like if we're going to spend 3 days out there, we're going to have to find a cheap motel to stay at. Or we could just rent, campsite for a weekend. It would probably be cheaper for us to buy a tent and to use our inflatable mattress for a weekend than to try to stay 4 nights anywhere or 3 nights anywhere. I don't know, but that's what we're doing. That's what's coming up. So I am definitely looking forward to it. We're going to make a video of it. I'll make a video of it. I might even post the videos after we get done with them just to have them up, and might learn some stuff. It's interesting that all of these things that I've been talking about for the past 4 years, with the snake, the winged serpents, and these eagle gods, and the giants, and the pyramids, and everything else, how all of it has started to converge together, that we are finally at a point that we are talking about going to a place that has all three, so that we can, maybe not figure it out so much, but at least try to find those connecting pieces. Try to find out what's really going on. So we're doing that. That'll be on Friday. Today is only Tuesday, so I have to go to work. So I have to get off here, and I got to go get some breakfast, and I will talk to you all later. God bless everyone. You take care of yourselves. Yeah, I don't have anything else other than that. It's gonna be interesting, different and interesting. So I've never been on a vacation. I've always I've done spring breaks and stuff, but it's always been just going up to family and hanging out with family. I've never actually said, oh, we're gonna go to point A and we're going to stay at point A for X amount of time, and then we're going to have fun, then we're going to come. I've never done that. I've always been oh, let's just go out and just see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's never been anything serious. This is serious, though. This is big time stuff for me. Excuse me. So we're going to go check this out. It's just again, it's been God is pointing me to this. He's pointing me to this. He's trying to show me something. This is, I don't know what it is that we're going to find, but he is pointing me to something in this trip, because everything is converging on this point, and I don't know why. So there's something going on that he needs us to find. So we're going to pray that whatever happens, that he shows it to us and makes it clear, and that we can understand what's going on. And hopefully we can find some truth while we're out there. So, all right, again, you guys take care of yourselves. God bless every one of you. Talk to you later.